Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 11th of August and welcome to the Hindu newspaper discussion. So guys, in this video we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. Now before starting, I would like to tell you that you can download the explainer PDF that I will be using here from the Telegram channel, and the link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box. Fine, so please download it. Now first of all, let's see the overview of the entire newspaper in order to understand that which articles are going to be important for our examination. So here we have the first page of the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper. So the first article we can see is that the center has provided a boost to the states in terms of the transfers. Fine, so we'll see this particular article with that, what it means and what will be the implications. After that, the Nitish Tejaswi takes oath, cabinet expansion soon. So basically the Bihar political issue is being discussed here. However guys, with respect to the examination, there is nothing much of a substance in this particular article for our examination. Okay, then Supreme Court to take a plea to ban convicts from polls for life. So this particular article is important one. We will see this particular article with respect to the exam GS paper number 2. Justice Lalit appointed as 49th Chief Justice of India. So guys, Justice UU Lalit, warrant letter for the appointment has been signed by the President. Okay, and Justice UU Lalit will become the next CJI. Then moving on, Supreme Court grants Varvara Rao bail on medical grounds. Now these articles are not important for our examination, no need to go in this. Then on the city section, in the city section the regional issues etc fine have been mentioned. Okay, then advertisements etc, these things are there, not important for your examination. Okay, so moving on in this particular direction guys, so directly you will be reaching to the editorial page, and till the editorial page articles relevant for the UPSC are not there in between, because advertisement, regional issues, crime related news etc are there, which are not important. Now the editorial page, the first article talks about the COVID-19 arguably has become the endemic in India. So we'll see this particular examination, this particular article with respect to the exam point of view. Then the next article, the words of wisdom for the Congress, last Mughals. Now guys, this is a political article talking about that, okay, how the Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, how basically they are driving the party and all those things are there, not important for your examination. So please avoid this article. Then Uncle Volt face. So this particular article, it is again talking about the Bihar politics that is going on. Fine, so guys, this is a political article for our examination. The article is not important. Then this particular article talks about the chess Olympiad. Then moving on, a new global vision for G20. So guys, this particular article will see with respect to the examination, it has been provided that how there are the priorities that are to be shifted within the G20. So with respect to the GS2, we'll see this article. The grammar of VIP security. So guys, basically this article is telling the nitty-gritties with respect to the VIP security. Okay, that what should be done, how a VIP security is arranged and all these kind of things. Guys, no need to go in this particular article. Such kind of things are not asked in our UPSC examination, so I'll not recommend you reading that. BSNL's distress calls answer, but towering issues prevail. So guys, this particular article talks about the BSNL's losses. Fine, for example, Vodafone, Idea, Airtel, BSNL, how their performance, financial performance etc has been there. Okay, the losses in crores that they have incurred over the past. Okay, and all their revenues etc are being discussed. Now guys, a few days back we have discussed this particular thing, that the government is going to give a kind of a bailout package to the BSNL that we have seen. However, you don't need to go and see the profits and losses of these corporates and all these kind of things. Such number is not at all important. However, in much detail we have seen that why government needs BSNL. Okay, I have told you that the BSNL, it is a national telecom service provider, and the national telecom service provider is very much important, because guys, today we are talking about the digital India. Today we are talking about providing the internet connectivity to all the gram panchayats into the India. So till there are nearly 2.5 lakh gram panchayats are to be reached under the national optic fiber network. Okay, e-governance is to be provided. So for that we need to have a national telecom provider. So despite of BSNL incurring the losses, government wants to revive it. Fine. However, the losses, profits etc, these numbers are not important. Then the new US bill on the climate action. Okay, so guys, basically it is talking about the US's bill that they have brought in order to tackle the basically to for this particular for the basically to tackle the climate change in that particular thing, the polluting industries, okay, and all these particular things have been taken up. Then moving on, the uproar over the electricity amendment bill 2022. So guys, this is an important article. Fine, we'll see that what are the criticisms around this particular bill. Then moving on, understanding the Taliban. Okay, so guys, basically it is a bibliography article, understanding the Taliban. So there are certain books which have mentioned about the nature of the Taliban and all such kind of things. Fine. Moving on, however, for examination, the substance is not there in this particular article. Then aviation safety regulator opens a door for the transgender pilots. We'll see this particular article with respect to the social justice. Fine. Then moving on, credibility of UN sanctions regime at all-time low. This article also will see. Then guys, freebies can be a lifesaver during the dire times, ECI. So we'll see this particular article. Then Kovind gave nod to 2019 MP legislation. So guys, basically a bill that was passed into the Madhya Pradesh which made dowry, harassment, writing, use of obscene words is a compoundable offense. It has been given an approval. Now guys, you don't need to go in this particular bill because it is a state specific legislation. Fine. However, what do we mean by the compoundable offenses? So basically, guys, there are certain crimes if in which the parties can compromise with each other. Okay, so they can be called as a compoundable offenses. So the dowry, harassment, writing, okay, use of obscene words, they have been declared as a compoundable offense. However, no need to go too much in detail, just reading the headlines will be sufficient. Then the page number 13 contains the political articles, not important for this examination. Then after that, Amit Shah has no desire for credit, okay, and all these particular kind of things, fine, not important. Corbevax get node as a precaution dose. Okay, so basically guys, the Corbevax, this particular vaccine was earlier approved. Okay, so emergency use approval was given. Now it can be used as a precaution dose for the adults also. So the people who have earlier got vaccinated with the 2 doses, who are fully vaccinated, for the 3rd dose they can opt for the Corbevax. Okay, so this is something that has been provided. However guys, these kind of guidelines and these kind of things you don't need to see, because in our examination such kind of things are not asked. Moreover, these things also tend to change a lot with the time. So therefore, no need to essentially go in this particular direction. Then India, Australia to sign film treaty. Okay, so basically guys, the India and the Australia will jointly be producing the movies, audio visual content. In this particular direction, the Union Cabinet has also been given an approval that India and Australia can collaborate on this particular front. Fine. Now you don't need to go in too much of a detail, but guys, such kind of a thing can be called as an example of cultural democracy. Cultural diplomacy. Okay, cultural diplomacy. Fine. Moving on, ECI links 2.5 crore Aadhaar cards to the voter IDs. Fine. Then basically the Donald Trump's residence have been raided. So such kind of a thing has been mentioned. Fine. Taiwan drill conclude, China reaffirms reunification pledge. So guys, over the past few days, I have covered this particular article in much detail, where we have seen that the US's speaker Nancy Pelosi has visited the Taiwan, and as she has visited the Taiwan, China got very much frustrated because China believes that the Taiwan is not an independent nation, rather the Taiwan is a part of a China only. So as per the China's policy of the one China principle, Taiwan they consider at their own part, and they even had provided that they will reunite Taiwan one day. But here, as USA's representative have visited the Taiwan without seeking the permission from China, China is irritated, and China had said that they will reunite the Taiwan one day for sure. Then Sri Lanka protests to vacate site. Okay, not important article for examination. Then guys, RBI targets unfair methods into the digital lending. So digital lending norms, new norms that have come, we'll see. After that, moving on. US inflation slows from 40-year peak. Okay, price freeze to impact OMC's profit, says fintech. Okay, so basically guys, basically the oil marketing companies, how they are facing issues with the rising prices and all such kind of things have been discussed. Then the corporate trends, corporate profits, etc. have been discussed in all these articles, not important. And then we have the sports page. Okay, that is all guys about the overview of the entire newspaper. And now let's discuss all these relevant articles from the exam point of view, one by one in the detail. Now starting up. So guys, every class I start with giving you a GS quotation that can be used in one of your GS papers. So today we'll take the quotation from the German philosopher Immanuel Kant. So Immanuel Kant has provided that in law, a man is guilty if he violates the right of others. However, in ethics, a man is guilty if only he thinks of doing so. So guys, when we talk about the law and ethics, what is the difference between the law and ethics? Basically, ethics works on the maximalist principle. Ethics works on maximalist principle, where the law works on the minimalist principle. In law, we enforce or we impose the bare minimum standards onto the members of society. But ethics, it enforces the highest virtues that should be aspired for. So guys, in ethics, even if a person thinks about violating the right of others, even if a person thinks about hurting another person, in ethics he is guilty. However, in law, only actually when an action will be carried, he will be guilty. So guys, ethics is something which is needed in order to tame the society, in order to bring a harmony as well as a congeniality in the society. You can use this particular quotation directly in the GS paper number 4. In GS paper number 4, there is even a topic that is the law versus ethics, where we can directly use this particular quotation. So that is all guys about the quote, and now let's take the first article. So the first article, let's first of all read this article, read the heading. So article says that the Supreme Court to take up the plea to ban the convicts from the polls for life. Now this particular article, first of all, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2, electoral reforms, GS paper number 2, electoral reforms. Moreover, with respect to the GS paper number 2, under the topic of the criminalization of politics also, we can see this particular article, criminalization of politics. Moreover guys, in GS paper number 4 also, how to clean the politics, how to eradicate the criminalization of politics, this particular thing could be taken up. So GS2 as well as GS paper number 4. Now before going in this particular article guys, I would like to tell you some of the background information that you should know before going in this particular article. So guys, when we talk about the electors, when we talk about the legislators need to be the people who have the highest morality, the people whose moral uprightness should be beyond the question. Now, however, but we have seen this particular thing that often the criminal people have entered the politics. Now guys, in order to curb the problem of this criminalization of politics, the criminals should not be the legislators. There are certain provisions that have been provided under the Representation of People Act 1951. So guys, basically when we talk about the Election Commission of India is a body to regulate the conduct of elections, but the detailed provisions with respect to the elections are not mentioned into the constitution. So therefore, there are the two legislations, that is the Representation of People Act 1951 and the Representation of People Act 1950, which provides the detailed provisions about the election. Now in this RPA 1951, there is a provision that if a person has been convicted for a crime, then that particular person will be disqualified for the term of punishment, okay, for the term of a punishment plus 6 years after that. Is it clear or not? Let's say Mr. A was accused that he has committed a murder and he has been convicted for that particular murder, and now Mr. A has been given, let's say, the punishment of 15 years, for example. So he will be disqualified for this 15 years plus 6 years after that he cannot contest the election. So this is the present provision. However guys, basically a petition has been filed in the Supreme Court and it has been said that we need to ban such kind of a convicted criminals from the lifetime. For the entire lifetime, they should not be allowed to contest elections, they should not be allowed to become the legislators. Even in this particular direction guys, a logic has been given. It has been said that even if a police constable, he is convicted of a particular crime, he is removed from the job for the entire life. So why legislators are not being imposed with such a kind of a thing? So petition has been filed into the Supreme Court for the lifetime ban. And in this particular direction, courts amicus curiae. Now guys, who is an amicus curiae? Amicus curiae means the friend of the court. So court can appoint some of people in order to assist the court on some kind of a matters. So the court's amicus curiae has provided that in India presently, the convicted MP or MLA, the convicted MP and MLA, they can again come into the parliament or into the state legislative assembly after their punishment has been finished, and after a gap of 6 years have been passed, they can again come and they can make the laws. Moreover guys, if I tell you the criminalization of politics in India, it is very much high. According to the ADR, that is the Association of Democratic Reforms, Today, into the present Lok Sabha that got constituted in 2019, 43% of the MPs, they have the criminal charges, and out of that 29% are those who have the serious criminal charges such as the rape, murder, dacoity, etc. Okay, so criminalization is so much high. Now guys, you tell me that the people who are the criminals, obviously their conscience has been silenced, their conscience has been killed. Obviously these people might not be these people will be making the laws for suiting their own interest. Such kind of a people should not be allowed into the parliament. Okay, so therefore, such the court is listening on such kind of a matter. Now, guys, in this particular direction, however, the government has rejected this idea of the lifetime ban. They said that lifetime ban should not be there onto the convicted legislators. What logic government has given? You need to see this particular thing very carefully. So, government has said that the MPs and MLAs, they are bound by the specific service conditions. They say that the MPs and the MLAs, they are bound by their oath to serve the citizens and to serve the country, as well as they are bound by the proprietary, good conscience and the interest of the nations. So guys, this is something which though has been said, but do you think that such a case is there? Fine, guys, often we have seen this particular thing that, see, Gandhiji in his theory of 7 social sins very clearly provided that the politics without principle is a sin. But actually what we find today that for the ulterior interest, we find today that into the name of a power, the MPs, the MLAs, they have often basically have not lived as per the spirit that was expected from them. Okay, moreover guys, you see the recent incidents that has happened, the recent incidents where the horse trading kind of a thing has happened in many of the states. Fine, so whether really they are bound by the conscience or not, fine, we need to see this particular thing. Now the center has also provided this particular the center's suggestion that the ban should not be there. It also goes against the Election Commission of India's suggestion that was given in 2007. Guys, in 2007 Election Commission of India has endorsed this particular idea that there needs to be the lifetime ban on the convicted MPs and MLAs, but this the center's suggestion is going against it. Now guys, a question comes that can court declare a law to ban these MPs and MLAs from the entire lifetime? So guys, in this particular direction, there is one particular judgment that I would like to tell you. The judgment is Public Interest Foundation case of 2019, Public Interest Foundation judgment of 2019. Now in this particular judgment, the Supreme Court has admitted one particular thing. I will be reading that what Supreme Court said. Supreme Court said that the criminalization of politics is a bitter manifest truth. Criminalization of politics has happened in India, we cannot deny it. They have said that the criminalization of politics is like a termite to the citadel of democracy. Okay, as a termite, it destroys it destroys the structures. In the same way, the criminalization destroys the democracy. But at the same time, Supreme Court said that the Supreme Court cannot make the law. Now if a law has to be made, that law can only be made by the parliament. So guys, if actually the criminalization of politics is to be completely punished, if the life ban is to be brought, that can be brought only by amending the RPA 1951, and the power to amend that is only with the parliament. Guys, if the court will do that particular thing, such kind of a thing will be called as a judicial overreach. Okay, judicial overreach, where judiciary goes beyond the scope in which they should stay. So this is something that has happened in this particular thing. So guys, it is a kind of an important thing that has happened. Fine, with respect to the GS paper number 2, it is very important. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now this article also we have taken from the page number 1. It says that to boost the spending, center releases this much money to the states. Now guys, you don't need to remember that exact amount that has been written here, but we need to understand this entire issue from the implication of this particular issue. Now guys, before going in this particular article will be important with respect to the GS paper number 3, the Indian economy and the issues related to the Indian economy. Now, before going in the article, I would like to tell you some of a background first. Fine, let's discuss first of all the background. So guys, the background goes like this, that in India, with the 101 Constitutional Amendment Act, we brought the GST, that is the Goods and the Services Tax. Now the GST, it has subsumed major of the indirect taxes, though all the indirect taxes have not been subsumed. For example, guys, still there is excise onto the petrol and diesel, fine. So there are some of the taxes which have not been subsumed, but majority of maximum of the indirect taxes have been subsumed into the GST, which was brought by 101 Constitutional Amendment Act. Now guys, before coming of the GST, the state governments had many powers with respect to the indirect taxes, and multiple taxes they have under their own control, which they would have increased when they wanted to have more revenue. But with the coming of GST, all those taxes got subsumed and the state government's power got finished. Now guys, at that point of a time, the state governments, they were reluctant to give their consent for the GST Act. And guys, actually when this GST Act was being passed, the center government at that point of a time guaranteed, they gave a compensation guarantee to the states, as well as the 14% growth rate was guaranteed. Now what does this particular thing means? I will explain you it in the simple terms. So basically guys, it was said by now the state governments, they feared that there will be the revenue loss, there will be the revenue decline that will happen. So at this point of a time, central government said that okay, 2015 and 16 will be chosen as a baseline. 2015 and 16 will be chosen as a baseline. It simply means that whatever revenue the states were getting in this particular year, that particular revenue will be guaranteed. Moreover, apart from that particular revenue, 14% increment every year will also be given. Let's say in 2015-16 the state governments got 100 rupees revenue, so 100 rupees will be given every year, and 14% increment will also be given over this 100 rupees that was guaranteed when the GST came in existence. But guys, this particular guarantee was given only for 5 years. This particular guarantee was only given for 5 years, that is till 2022. So 2017 actually GST came, from 2017 to 2022, 5 years this particular guarantee was given. Now guys, this guarantee has been expired now. And the state governments, fine, recently guys, there was a controversy that was going on, that the state government had asked the center government that now we are in the time of a pandemic, there have been the revenue declines, okay, we need to spend more money on the health and all such kind of things, you please increase this particular GST compensation guarantee for next 5 more years, okay, so please increase for next 5 more years. And guys, just a couple of days back we have seen that the 7th meet of the governing council under the Niti Aayog has happened. There also the states such as Chhattisgarh, they have raised this particular demand that the GST compensation needs to be increased. But guys, the government had not increased it. Nothing has happened on this particular front. Okay, so guys, this is one thing that has happened. Now guys, into this particular thing, the state government saying that there is the decline in the revenue, how they will be investing in much of the important priorities. So guys, to solve this or to help in this particular direction, this particular article now has come. Okay, or this particular move makes some sense in this direction. So first of all, you need to know this entire background, okay, and then we'll be able to understand this present article more effectively. So what has happened guys, now basically the GST is going on, and as per the GST, there is the money that will be divided between the center and the states as well as the center. Now guys, every year whatever the money is due to the state government, the center government transfers that particular money. This happens. Now what has happened this particular year, this particular month, for the month of August, the center has released this much money to the state government, which is equivalent to 2 monthly installments of the tax devolution. So the 2 months money have been provided in one go. Okay, so this much money, which is twice the monthly installment, it has been provided by the center government to the state. Now what is the logic? The logic is to provide the state additional money so that they can go for the capital expenditure. Guys, the capital expenditure is one which is done for making some kind of an asset or such kind of a thing. So it has been seen that the state governments, they have a revenue shortfall, and this particular money will help them. Okay, so it has been said that it will help the centers, the states, to bolster their cash flows and to nudge them into planning and executing capital expenditure. Now guys, capital expenditure is actually very much important. Why? Because by capital expenditure we can create employment. For example, what is an example of capital expenditure? Let's say developing a kind of an infrastructure. For example, let's say developing a highway, or let's say developing a flyover. Fine, any a hypothetical example I am taking. Now if we will construct this particular highway or the flyover, the expenditure that is being done, it is a type of a capital expenditure because the highway or the flyover is an asset that is being built. Now obviously when the highway as well as the flyover is to be built, it will create the job, it will create the employment, it will create the employment for the people, and when people will be employed here, obviously they will be getting the wages. Now the wages that they will get, fine, by that particular wages they will be able to increase, they will be able to raise the demand. And guys, when there are basically when the demand is being increased, at the end of the day the increase in demand might increase the aggregate demand. Aggregate demand means demand by all the other people, fine. So aggregate demand, when it will be increased, this particular thing will provide impetus to other industries. Okay, let's say I'm getting employed, I'm getting the wages, I will spend this particular wages, I will demand other goods, so other industries will also get an impetus, and by this particular thing there will be a kind of an basically this will lead to an economic activity and the entire economic revival will happen. So this is an expectation that the money has been given to the state government. But guys, there is actually a concern also. Into the last 2 years we have seen that whenever the state governments have got a money, they are actually spending their money into the revenue expenditures. In the revenue expenditures, committed expenses, they are spending their money. For example, they are spending the money for the salaries, pensions, etc. The capital expenditure has not been very much into the last 2 years. So whether this particular money will be used now for the capital expenditure or not, this is to be seen. Clear? Moreover guys, this particular thing is also seen as a response when the state governments have asked the enhancement of the GST compensation. So in order to pacify them also, this particular thing has been done. Moreover guys, this is the share of this money, as which states will be getting the more. So the Uttar Pradesh will be given the highest share, particularly because of their big size and because of the big population that they have, then the Bihar, and this is thing. However, you don't need to remember which states will be getting how much money. So that is all about this entire issue, and now we'll move to the next article. The uproar over the Electricity Amendment Bill 2022. So guys, here with respect to the GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3 infrastructure, we will discuss this particular article. GS paper number 3 infrastructure. So guys, recently what has happened, the electricity bill 2022 has been introduced into the parliament, and after that a lot of criticisms, a lot of issues or a lot of controversies have developed in this particular direction. So guys, we'll see briefly what is this Electricity Amendment Bill 2021 or 2022 and what it aims to do, whether there are some genuine criticisms or not. All these issues we'll see in this particular article. So guys, when we talk about, first of all, electricity, when we talk about the electricity or the power, it is a subject that has been mentioned in the concurrent list. It means concurrent list. So guys, we in the schedule 7 of the Indian Constitution, we have 3 lists. We have the union list, we have the state list, and we have the concurrent list. So the subjects that are mentioned into the union list, only the parliament can make the law. Subjects mentioned into the state list, the state governments can make the law, and the subjects mentioned into the concurrent list, both the state as well as the parliament can make the law. So the electricity or the power is mentioned into the concurrent list. Now guys, when we talk about the electricity, for the first time we came out with the Electricity Act of 2003. Electricity Act of 2003 was passed for the first time. Now this Electricity Act of 2003 wanted to consolidate all the laws for the electricity that has been made into the past. So guys, into the past multiple laws were made by the center as well as the states. All those particular laws were consolidated by this Electricity Act of 2003, and it also tried to control the generation, transmission as well as distribution of electricity. Now guys, understand this particular thing little bit in more detail. So basically there are certain players which are involved into the electricity sector. Number one, there will be the electricity generators, which are called as the GenCos, that is the generation companies. Then after that, there are the discoms that come in between. Discoms means the distribution companies. Okay, and then there will be the ultimate consumer. They will be the individual consumer. They could be the factories, industries, institutions, anyone. Okay, and then guys, there is the distribution network. There is the distribution network which connects the electricity supply from generation to distribution company, and from distribution company to the end consumer. There is a distribution network in between. So guys, when this 2003 Electricity Act came, this particular act tried to regulate all these people, generators, distribution companies, distribution networks, the relation between the consumers and distribution companies. All these particular things were regulated by this Electricity Act of 2003. And now guys, the present Electricity Amendment Bill 2022 that has come, the present Electricity Amendment Bill 2002 that has come, it aims to amend an existing law. Which law? That is the Electricity Act of 2003 that I have just explained to you. Fine. So this is the background that first of all should be known to you. Now after this particular background, let's understand that what are the issues that are coming. Now guys, when we talk about the Electricity Act of 2003, what happened? It offered the protection, it offered the protection to the interest of the consumers. Predatory pricing etc. should not be there. Some consumers should be protected more. For example, the farmers, they are to be given the subsidized electricity. All these things were provided there. Fine. Rationalization of electricity tariff. Okay, then the transparent policies regarding the subsidies need to be prepared, and all these kind of things is there. Now guys, this particular act also resulted in privatization of the distribution companies. So guys, these please see here on this particular picture. So I told you that these distribution companies are there who procure the electricity from the generators and then provide this particular electricity to the consumer. So these distribution companies were got privatized by the Electricity Act of 2003, which was brought. Moreover guys, this particular act has earlier also been amended in 2007, and it has brought the provisions for the cross subsidization. Now what do we mean by this cross subsidization? First of all, let's understand. So guys, what is the cross subsidy? So let's understand this issue. Basically, there is a farmer. Now guys, the farmer needs electricity for irrigation, for drawing the water from the land, for pumping the water into the entire field. The farmer needs electricity, but we cannot supply the electricity to the farmer at the commercial prices, because the farmer of India, fine, he is little bit distressed because of the agriculture is not remunerative. So the farmer will not be charged the entire commercial price. Fine. The farmer will be provided the subsidized electricity. Let's say electricity at 1 rupees per unit. Okay, such electricity will be provided to the farmer. But guys, if we do this particular thing, there will be a lot of burden onto the government. There will be a lot of burden onto the distribution companies, on the generators. So what is the solution? Solution is that if we are subsidizing the farmer, we will charge much more from the industries. Okay, let's say there is a factory. Okay, suppose a house, a residential unit is being charged at 5 rupees per unit. Farmer will be charged at 1 rupees per unit, but the industry will be charged like 10 rupees, 12 rupees per unit. Why 10 rupees, 12 rupees? Because from charging extra, we will try to plug the losses that we are incurring when we are giving the subsidized electricity to the farmers. So the concept of the cross subsidization came, that you can charge higher from the industries, so that we need to subsidize the poor households, we need to subsidize the farmers and such kind of people. Okay, all these things have happened in the past. Now the 2022 Electricity Amendment Bill, what are the criticisms of this particular bill, and what are the brief provisions? Okay, so provisions as well as criticisms we'll see here. Now number one, the opposition as well as the farmer group, they feel that by this particular bill, there will be the subsidies that will be stopped, and the power distribution will be under the control of the private companies. Now what has been provided in this particular bill? The bill provides this thing that the private companies can come into the electricity distributions, though they were earlier also there. But guys, even in basically the more role is now being given to the private sector. Guys, still there are many of the distribution companies which are government owned in many of the states. Okay, but now the private companies footprint is to be increased. So thus the opposition people, they are saying that if private corporates will provide the electricity, what will happen? Obviously they will not be concerned about the welfare, they are only concerned about their profit, and in that capacity the subsidies will be reduced. Moreover, it has been provided that if the private companies will come into the power sector, fine, the people who are working into the government entities, they say that they will go for job, there will be the job losses that will happen, the people will be removed, so the unemployment will further increase, because the private privatization of power sector will happen. Then guys, the next thing that they are saying is that when we talk about the power of electricity, this is a subject which comes into the concurrent list, and if it is into the concurrent list, both the state as well as the parliament, they have the power. So it is being said that before bringing such kind of an amendment, the consultation from the state should have happened, but the consultation of state has not happened, and you are now going to privatize the distribution aspect of the electricity. Then the next thing is that there is a proposal that the center can intervene in the power distribution. Fine, it has been said that the center can notify the rules with respect to the power distribution. Now, up till now, the power distribution actually was into the hand of the state government, but now the center governments can notify the rules. This particular thing is being called as a federal breach. Then guys, the next thing that has been provided is that fine, so we can see that the clause 5 of this amendment, it empowers the center government to prescribe the criteria. So more power has been given to the center. And then the next issue that comes here is that basically the center government, let's say guys, there is one particular area. Now the name of this particular area is ABC. Now earlier the electricity was being provided to this particular area, let's say by a distribution company, and the name of a distribution company was XYZ. So XYZ distribution company owned by the government was providing electricity to here. Now it has been provided that basically in one particular area multiple distribution companies can come. So apart from this XYZ, other distribution companies can also provide the electricity to this particular area, and for that they don't need to have their separate distribution network. The common distribution network that is there, the common wires, the common infrastructure that is there, they can use that particular thing. Now guys, it has been said that what will happen, the distribution companies, they are providing electricity to both the profit making areas as well as the areas which are into the losses. But what will happen, the private player will now come, and the private player will selectively take only those areas where the profit is being made. Now guys, this particular thing will impact the government distribution companies. Now see, the government distribution companies, they are into the losses in certain areas, but there are certain areas which are profitable also. So by this particular thing, from retrieving the money from the profitable areas, they try to minimize their losses. But if the private player will come, they will only come into the profitable areas, they will squeeze the profitability of the government distribution companies, and at the end of the day their losses will further be increased. So this is the issue that has come in this particular direction. Fine. So guys, therefore all these are the criticisms of the electricity bill. However, I'll just be telling you one particular thing. You not need to go too much into the detail of these particular provisions, because still guys, it is a bill, it is a draft, it has not been passed. If it will be passed, okay, then we need to go into the detailed provisions. Till then you don't need to go too much into the detail, just the overview of this particular bill you need to know. However, we have seen much more beyond that. Now moving to the next article. Freebies can be lifesavers during the dire times, Election Commission of India. Now guys, this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 2, electoral reforms. Fine. Now let's first of all take the background before going in this particular article, guys. So basically, what do we mean by the freebie? First of all, what do we mean by the freebie? So guys, freebie means that sometimes irrational entitlements are being promised to the people by the political parties, that if they come to the power, for example, they will give you mixer grinder, they will give the TV, they will give the air conditioner, they will give the scooty. So many kind of a free doles are promised by the political parties if they come to power. They are called as the freebies. Now guys, these freebies, they are problematic on many of the fronts. Why they are problematic? Number one, these freebies many times are unsustainable. Fine, they put a lot of financial burden onto the state. Moreover guys, the freebies which are being brought, many times basically this freebie comes onto the cost of development. Okay, you are being given a mixer grinder, scooty, etc., but that particular money could have been used for health, education and all such kind of a thing. So these freebies come at the cost of development. Then guys, thirdly, basically freebies put the voters into a kind of a wrong illusion. Okay, so actually the voters should be voting onto the developmental fronts, but when the freebies are being promised, these freebies are putting the voters in an illusion, and just by getting attracted from the freebie of a particular political party, voters can even vote the politicians who have the criminal backgrounds, the politicians who ethicality and morality is not very much proven. So these freebies freebies are problematic. Okay, moreover guys, today we find this particular thing that the states debts, they have become unsustainable. Why? Because many of the states, they have went for promising these freebies into the past. So these freebies have many times called as irrational. Now guys, this freebie culture has also been called as a revdi culture by the Prime Minister recently. Prime Minister had said that this freebie culture, revdi culture needs to be curbed and the people should not be getting diverted by this particular thing. So this is the freebie issue that is coming. But guys, on the other hand, it is being also a genuine problem that what we need to understand that what is actually a freebie and what is actually an entitlement that will bring the social justice for the people. Now guys, many times into the name of the freebie, even the desirable things are condemned. For example, the government is giving the subsidized education, government is giving the free food grains, let's say government is giving the subsidized health. Now these things are also sometimes equated with the freebie, but guys, they are not freebie. They are something which are helping to bring the social justice even to the deprived of the deprived people, even to the most backward of the backward people. Fine. Now guys, in this particular capacity, the issue is going on. Now I told you what is happened. I'll tell you the chronology. The Prime Minister called the freebie culture as the revdi culture. During the same time, the Supreme Court has also asked the government that the freebie issue is problematic, going on for so many of the years. Why the government has not done anything to curb this particular freebie culture? Then the Supreme Court said that we will constitute an expert committee. We will constitute an expert committee that will examine that how this freebie culture and the irrational freebies can be curbed. So the Supreme Court is going to constitute this expert committee. Now guys, in this particular thing only, now the Election Commission of India has given its views on the freebies. So what Election Commission of India had said? Election Commission had said that actually the word irrational and the word freebies, they are open to subjective interpretations. We don't know that what actually an irrational freebie. Even sometimes the things which are important, which are desirable, they could also be called as a freebie. Now the Supreme Court, what it has said that sometimes freebies are actually very important also. They can have different impact onto the society, economy, equity, depending onto the situation. The Election Commission of India has provided that during the natural disasters, during the time of pandemic, providing the life-saving medicines, providing the food to the people, providing the money to the people, it could be something which could be an economic savior. Into the normal times, providing the free food, providing a free medicine might not make a logic, but into the times of pandemic, these freebies are actually the lifesaver for the people. So everything could not be called as an irrational freebie. Now there is a lot of subjectivity that what is irrational freebie and what is a important social justice entitlement. So one particular law cannot bring a kind of a blanket ban. A blanket ban, if we'll bring by a law, that will not be desirable. Now Election Commission of India had said that see, if we actually ban the freebie, it will be giving the advantage to the political party only. Now how the ECI has given a logic? ECI had said that a political party can promise a freebie that okay, we will give you these many things if we come to the power, but at the end of the day what will happen? This particular promise will be banned, and guys, the political party will justify that okay, we have promised you to give this particular thing, but that government body is not allowing us to do that particular thing, or the court is not allowing us to do that particular thing. So the political party will get a political mileage even without spending the money. Okay, so without spending a money, they will get the mileage. So they have for example, what ECI had said, that the political parties can make such promise that they know would be banned or adversely commented upon by the regulatory authority. This might serve to give them more publicity and mileage than actual implementation after the elections. So this is something that is an issue. Moreover guys, when I told you that the Supreme Court is constituting this expert committee which will ban this or which will try to curb this culture of freebie, in this particular thing, the Supreme Court asked the Election Commission of India that Election Commission of India should also become the party under this particular expert committee. But Election Commission of India, fine, the Election Commission of India, they had welcomed the court's proposal to set up an expert body, but they have said that the ECI cannot be the part of this particular expert body because ECI is a constitutional authority, and in this particular body the members of the government will be there and all these kind of things. So there could be a conflict of interest that can come. So Election Commission of India said that they will not be the party of this particular expert body or expert commission. So this is guys the entire issue of the freebies, and I hope that you have understood this entire issue. So guys, when we talk talk about the freebie, fine. See, earlier the political debates around the freebies were like that the freebies outrightly were negative, they were outrightly bad and undesirable. But now guys, as over the past few days there are some different suggestions that have come. Even we have seen one editorial in this particular line. So all the freebies are not bad, only few type of freebies are bad. But how to identify that which type of freebie is bad, it is open to interpretation, and this particular thing is going to be problematic in curbing this entire issue. So that is all guys about the article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Don't halt the work of the house by misusing rules, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. So guys, Venkaiah Naidu, basically Venkaiah Naidu, who has been the incumbent chairman of who has been incumbent chairman of the Rajya Sabha or the vice president, though he has now been replaced with Mr. Dhankad, who is going to be the vice president of India. So now the Venkaiah Naidu, he in his last session into the Rajya Sabha has made one particular comment. He had made a comment on the rule 267 of the Rajya Sabha. So we will see that the outgoing vice president, what he had said, and what is this entire rule 267. Now guys, this particular entire issue we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2, functioning of parliament. GS paper number 2, functioning of parliament, or under the parliamentary reforms. We'll see this entire article. Now guys, before going in this particular article, I would like to tell you some of a background, and here some of the information that I will be giving you is beyond the scope of this particular article, but it is important for our examination. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the working of the parliament, within the parliament we have the Rajya Sabha as well as we have the Lok Sabha. Now the operations and the conduct of the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, they have been explained in the Constitution of India, but at the same time there are detailed provisions that are not there into the Constitution of India. So Constitution of India had empowered the Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha that they can also come out with their own rules, fine, by which their functioning can be governed. Now guys, in this particular direction, there is one particular article in the Constitution of India, that is the article number 118. Now article 118 of the Indian Constitutions allows that the houses of the parliament then they can make the rules for their better functioning. Now by using this article 118 within the Rajya Sabha, the rules of procedure and conduct of business in the Rajya Sabha rules have been adopted. Fine. For the Lok Sabha also the similar rules are there. The rules of procedure or Lok Sabha also there are separately. Now guys, in the rules of procedure of Rajya Sabha, there is one particular rule, that is the rule number 267, whose mention has been made by the vice president that we should not misuse it. Now what is this rule 267? So guys, the rule 267, it is used in extraordinary circumstances. So basically, suppose there is some kind of an urgent issue that have happened into the country. This is a issue which might impact the national security, might impact the sovereignty. Clear? So this particular issue can be raised by bringing the rule number 267. Now guys, understand, I'll tell you that how generally a house works. So let's say that today the Rajya Sabha's sitting is scheduled. So in the advance, the agenda for the Rajya Sabha is prepared, as well as the agenda for the Lok Sabha will be there. Now what this particular agenda contains? Agenda contains that what issues will be carried throughout the day, which bills will be introduced on that particular, or which bill the debate is to be held, what type of what motions are to be put on vote, resolutions that are to be passed, voting that is to be carried. All these things are there in the agenda of the day. But guys, if let's say a kind of an emergency situation has come, or if there is some kind of an urgent thing that has come on which a discussion needs to be carried immediately, the rule number 267 can be used. So rule 267 will suspend the day's functioning. So whatever was in the agenda, that particular thing will be suspended, and against that particular thing, one particular issue that has been raised under the rule 267, that will be discussed. Now basically this particular rule, it was an extraordinary tool, and only for some kind of a dire situations only this rule 267 was to be used. But the vice president, the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, had said that now the opposition, they are using this rule 267 very conveniently, fine, not occasionally, rather very regularly they are using this particular rule. For example, the discussion is to be carried on many things, they are just simply bringing this rule 267. It disrupts the entire day's functioning, and therefore the productivity of the Rajya Sabha is getting declined. Fine, a lot of, moreover they say that the discussions that are being brought by the opposition under rule 100 267, these are very political kind of an issues. So very regularly the rule 267 should not be used, it should be used in a rare circumstances. This is something that has been provided by the vice president. Okay, so this is guys the issue that has come in this particular direction. Now such a kind of a thing we can use as a reference in our GS paper number 2 related answers. So that is all about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, a new global vision for G20. So guys, this is the editorial that we have taken from the Hindu newspaper, and this editorial will see with respect to the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, international relations. With the international relation, India and India's membership into the multilateral bodies is there. So there we'll see this particular article. Now guys, what this article says. So basically guys, there is upcoming G20 summit that will be held in the Bali. Fine. So G20 summit will be held in the Bali. So it is talking that in the G20 summit, what India needs to propose. Okay. Now guys, when we talk about the G20, let's discuss a little bit about the G20. So the G20, it is an intergovernmental forum which contains the 20 countries. So there are the 19 member countries that are there, and then the European Union is there. Okay, you can see the membership of the G20. So all these countries, fine, which are contained here, this as well as the Europe, as well as the European Union, it is a member of a G20. Now guys, when we talk about the G20, it contains both the industrialized economies as well as the developing countries are contained into the G20. 90% of the gross world product, fine, when we have the country, we call it as GDP, gross domestic product, but when we talk about the entire world, we call it as GWP, gross world product. So the 90% of the gross world product, it comes from this G20 grouping. Now guys, when we talk about the G20 addresses many issues related to the global economy, international financial stability, climate change, mitigation, sustainable development, and all these kind of things. Now the 2022 summit is being held into the Bali, and the next year 2023 summit for the G20, it will be held in India. Okay, so this is the basic information about the G20. Beyond that, you would not need to go for our examination. Now guys, this particular article says that when we talk about the G20, it has played an important role in shaping and strengthening the global order, global architecture, global governance, and many of the issues which are common to the interest of the world countries, they have been raised by this G20 forum. Now guys, basically the Ministry of External Affairs, fine, it has said that in the upcoming meet of the G20 that is held into the Bali, many of the important issues which are centric to the India will be raised in this particular G20. So we are going to raise many of the issues such as the issues of energy security, agriculture, trade, digital economy, health, environment, employment, tourism, anti-corruption, women empowerment. All these particular issues will raise on G20, and we will try to seek the cooperation on all these particular things. But guys, this article provides this particular thing that there is a need for a new model for international cooperation. Now guys, when we talk about the G20, there are certain issues that are not being addressed into the G20. So these issues are to be addressed. So some new issues have been provided. Now guys, it has been provided that today actually, if we see the multilateral organizations, multilateral commitments, they are losing their strength. For example, the United Nations. We have seen that the United Nations has not been able to enforce many of an important norms. Right now the Russia-Ukraine war is going on. United Nations has not been able to do much. The China has carried its unilateralism. United Nations again has not been able to do much. Even into the trade, World Trade Organization has not been able to brought a kind of a justice for the developing countries particularly. Now into the world, there are the three socio-economic systems that are there. The G7 is there. Then the China, Russia, Russia and India is there, and the other countries are there. So they are the three big organizations, big socio-economic status that have been there. Now guys, when we talk about the G20, the potential of G20 is huge. 95% of the world's patent are held into the G20, 85% of the global GDP, 75% of international trade is within the G20, 65% of population lives in the G20 countries. Fine. So therefore, this G20, which actually happens to be a very important organization today, it is needed to be reoriented. Now, what is the direction of reorientation? Fine. So the direction of reorientation, number one, it has been said that today the economic and social rights are getting more recognized. Even the 2030, the sustainable developmental goals that have come, they are also recognizing the economic and social rights. Here it has been said that into this particular line, the G20 also needs to talk more onto the economic and social rights. They need to talk on the issues such as the food for everybody, housing for everybody, education, health, water, sanitation, work for all. These things needs to be something which are to be carried more. So guys, trade, fine, trade, okay, and strategic rivalries, rather than discussing them, we need to discuss more onto the G20 platform. Moreover guys, within the G20, the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities also needed to be reinforced. Now guys, common but differentiated responsibility, CBDR, this principle originally came for the environment. So guys, when we talk about the environment and climate change, so tackling the climate change, it is a responsibility of the entire world. So common, but at the same time differentiated responsibility means that the developed countries need to do more in order to tackle the climate change. So common but differentiated responsibilities, which says that the climate change is a common responsibility, but actions will be different. So even in eradicating the poverty, eradicating the hunger, giving the food, housing, CBDR approach needs to be adopted. It means that developed countries need to give more support, they need to give more funding, they need to help more to the developing and the poor countries. It is something which has been provided. Then the next thing that is provided is that today basically we need to focus basically today the global agenda, we are concerned more about the investment, but rather than the investment, the science and technology is something which is a driving force for economic diversification. Science and technology can provide the sustainable solutions for urbanization, can provide the solutions for the climate change, hydrogen economy that we are talking about, the green economy, green transition. All of these particular solutions can be provided by the science and technology, but the focus on science and technology has not been much. So rather than the investment, we need to reorient towards the science and technology. Then the third thing, or the third issues that needs to be focused into the G20, it is the digital information technology revolution. So basically today when we talk about the internet or just the physical connectivity, it is not a luxury. Rather the internet, it is a digital right or the fundamental right that is needed today by the people. So the digital access, it is needed to be recognized as a universal service. Everybody needs to be given a connectivity, and not only the physical connectivity, that is the connectivity by the roads, the transports, rather the digital connectivity of internet telecom is to be provided, because it has become today the condition for many rights. Today you can enjoy your freedom of speech and expression by internet. Today the trade and commerce can be carried by internet. So the digital connectivity is very much important. Even guys in the India, I want to give you just an additional reference. Anuradha Bhasin judgment of 2020, the internet was recognized as a fundamental right. Fine. Now after that, the next thing that is coming is that the space is the next frontier for finding many of the solutions. So for the resource management, climate change, disasters, many things, the solution lies in the space frontier. For example, guys, today we can launch the satellites. These satellites through the remote sensing can help in the climate in predicting the climate patterns, in predicting the rainfalls, in predicting the agriculture, and all these kind of things. So the space, it is an important arena. Here it has been said that the Earth observation and Earth related data needs to be generated, and it needs to be shared between the member countries through the collaborations. It has been said that today the developing countries, they need to they need to launch their satellites, they need to get the benefit of the space technologies, but they don't have capacities. So they should be provided help. They should be provided the computing capacities, machine learning, artificial intelligence, assistance in all these areas needs to be provided to them. Then next thing that has come here is that basically we have learned this particular thing that by the COVID-19, that the infectious diseases and many of the health concerns, they can undo all the progress that has been done into the past few years, economic progress, social progress, etc. In this particular capacity, it has been said that today antimicrobial resistance, it is becoming a big problem. Okay, antibiotics, infectious diseases, they are increasing. So in order to tackle this particular problem of the antimicrobial resistance, we need to invest into the biotechnology facilities, and here also the developed countries need to help India. The next thing that has been provided is there that, guys, basically overriding priority to develop, basically there are the strategic competitions that are happening. Okay, strategic competitions, particularly when we talk about the Indian Ocean has become a zone of conflict where the countries, they are competing with with each other. Now rather than these kind of a competitions, we need to develop the cooperation between the countries, particularly into the high seas, Indian Ocean, etc. And then there is one more thing that has been provided is there, that is the global financial transaction tax is to be imposed. Now guys, what is this global financial transaction tax? So there are many of the global financial transactions that are happening between the different countries. Let's say there is USA and then there is India. Let's say India has imported something from the USA. Okay, India has imported something from the USA, and in terms India will be paying the certain payment to the USA. So there is a global transaction that has happened. On these particular transaction, there needs to be the global financial transaction tax, and this particular money should be used for green tech. It should be put into the green technology fund for the least developed countries. By this particular money, the solar photovoltaic cells, okay, and renewable energies, all these particular technologies are to be provided to the least developed countries. So this global financial transaction tax also to be explored, and this particular thing should be put in the agenda of the G20 summit that is going to held. So guys, all are the key takeaways that are needed to be focused in the G20, and these points are, guys, actually very good points. You can directly use it in your answers, fine, into the international relation, fine. So please put this particular thing. And moreover, guys, see, these issues not only could be used in G20, but in most of the multilateral forums, such kind of thing can be suggested. So please do use it. Now moving to the next article. COVID-19 arguably has become endemic in India. So guys, this article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2 health. Fine. So basic key takeaways from this particular article we are going to take. However, guys, this particular debate is ongoing that whether COVID-19 is still a pandemic, whether it is still an endemic, or it has become an epidemic, and all these things. But guys, this is a very evolutionary kind of a thing. So there was a time when the cases were very much high, then the cases came down. Now again the cases are increasing. So this particular thing is debatable. You therefore don't need to go too much into the detail. Just you need to have an overview of this entire issue. Now, before going in this particular article, guys, I would like to discuss some of very basic things. That what is the difference between three words: epidemic, pandemic, and endemic. Fine. So first of all, let's discuss them, and then we'll move to the article. So basically, first of all, discussing the epidemic. So the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, USA, it has explained the epidemic. So it says that what is epidemic? Epidemic is unexpected increase in the number of disease cases in a specific geographical area. So let's say that there was an area in which, let's say, 10 cases of a particular chikungunya was coming. Now suddenly, rather than the 10, the 20 cases are coming from a particular geographical area. We will call it as an epidemic. So what is an epidemic? Epidemic is an unexpected increase in the number of disease cases in a specific geographical area. So for example, yellow fever, smallpox, measles, if number of cases will increase, we'll call it as an epidemic. But guys, keep this particular thing that only contagious diseases are not concerned. Any disease could be there. Then the next is a pandemic. So guys, what is pandemic? So pandemic have been explained by the WHO. So WHO declares a pandemic when a disease growth is exponential. When the disease growth is exponential. Exponential means very high growth rate. Now the COVID-19 became a pandemic because exponential growth rate was there. Every next day, the number of cases were higher than the preceding days. So when the exponential growth is there, number one. Secondly, when the cases are not restricted to a particular country or a particular region, it transcends the national boundaries, it transcends the continent. So that is a pandemic. In COVID-19, the cases were not restricted only to India, it were restricted to, they were coming through in the entire world. Fine. So the disease growth is exponential. Fine. And the cases are not restricted to one country or one region. Then the next comes is endemic. Now guys, what is an endemic? Endemic, it is a situation when there is consistently a particular disease is present in a particular region. Okay, so guys, let's say the malaria is an endemic into the African countries. Regularly the cases of malaria, they do come. So a disease become an endemic when basically, though the number of cases will be not very much high, but regularly they will be coming. That is endemic. Now question has come that what is right now the nature of COVID-19? Is it a epidemic? It is a pandemic. So guys, now we can understand this particular thing, that the 29 months have happened since the COVID-19 started, fine, and it was declared a pandemic in between. Yes, why it was pandemic? Because cases were very much high, exponential growth was there, and the cases were coming from the entire world. But now it has been said that now the COVID-19 has become just like any other health condition, and now it can be assumed that we have entered into a kind of an endemicity. Okay, the COVID-19 is becoming a kind of an endemic. Now it has been said that when we talk about any particular disease, basically the cases don't disappear completely. Even today, the chikungunya, dengue, and many respiratory diseases which are there, they are staying with the people. Still the cases are coming. So basically 29 months, though it is a long time, but it is not still such a long time that the disease will be completely be vanished. Now it has been said that now we need to differentiate between the pandemic and endemic. Okay, and the differentiation can be made onto the basis of the socio-economic impact. Now guys, it has been said that the pandemics are not only the health events, rather they encompass the social and economic implications are very much high. Poor people and everybody is infected by that. Okay, now it has been said that today the social and economic impact due to the COVID-19, they have become very much less. Now the infections and the fatalities and all those things are not very big problem. So it has been said that now we need to conclude that though the number of cases are coming, but the impact have been blunted. Impact is not much there. So therefore we need to now return back to the normalcy mode. Many societies even actually have returned to the normalcy mode. They have removed the mask and all social distancing, such kind of a condition. So it has been said that today we also need to consider that the COVID-19 has reached a stage where it has become either today it has become an endemic, though there will be the occasional cases which could be called as an epidemic, but it is not surely a pandemic. So this is something that has been provided in this particular article. But guys, at the same time, there is a counter view also where it has said that it is still a pandemic because still the cases are coming from the entire world, and many times the cases increase when the new version or a new variant comes. So this is something that has happened in this particular direction. So that is all guys about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Aviation safety regulator opens door for the transgender pilots. Now this particular article will see with respect to the social justice GS paper number 2. Fine. Now guys, before going in this particular article, I would like to give you some of a background. So guys, this background basically starts from 2014. So basically 2014, there was an important judgment that came, that was the NALSA judgment. Now the NALSA judgment was particularly with respect to the transgender people. So guys, the transgender people, it was said that these people have faced a lot of discrimination. These people, a lot of social stigma and taboo against these people are there. So the NALSA judgment provided that the transgender people are to be provided all the fundamental rights. There needs to be an act that is to be brought which specifically provides that the transgender people, specifically an act needs to be brought which provides that there cannot be any discrimination for the transgender people. All the rights need to be given to them. Now guys, on to the basis of the NALSA judgment, the Transgender Person Act of 2019 came, which provided that the transgender people, they can affirm their sexual identity. Transgender people will not be discriminated. Equal opportunities will be provided to the transgender people. All these things came in the Transgender Person Act of 2019. But guys, recently one particular case happened where one transgender person who applied for the license of pilot, he was not cleared. On to the health grounds, he was denied a license. Basically, this person was going through the hormone therapy. It was said that because you are going through this hormone therapy, you cannot be given a license. So this particular thing happened. And guys, this particular thing was called that it is nothing but a kind of a discrimination that is being carried, and it is a violation of Transgender Persons Act 2019. It was said that, see, there are no evidence that if a person is on hormone therapy, that particular thing will impact that particular person's efficiency or effectiveness. So therefore it was said that it was violative. Guys, after that particular thing, what happened? The Ministry of Social Justice, it basically sent the Ministry of Social Justice, it asked the DGCA, that is the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. It asked the DGCA, that is the Directorate General of the Civil Aviation, that you need to come out with new guidelines where the discrimination against these people is not being carried. Now in this particular direction, what has happened, the new guidelines have been issued by the DGCA, and this particular new guidelines, they had allowed the transgender person that if they have completed their gender transition therapy, if they have completed their surgery in the last 5 years, they are fit to fly. They cannot be denied the license, they cannot be denied to fly. Moreover, if there is an ongoing hormone therapy, then also a person is fit to fly, that particular person cannot be disqualified. It has been provided that all the transgender applicants who have completed their treatment within the past 5 years, fine, they have only to undergo a psychological and psychiatric evaluation, which is carried for other people also, fine. Moreover, if any person had gone for a sex change therapy into the last 1 year, he need to provide a report from his endocrinologist who is treating him, and after that they can fly. So this particular issue have been now resolved, and guys, we can say that it is a justice, it is a kind of a victory for the transgender community who have always been subjugated and have been discriminated on many of the fronts. So this is a guys an important development in this particular direction. But before going in this entire background, you need to know the Nalsa judgment, the Transgender Act of 2019, etc. So that is all guys about this particular issue. And now we'll move to the next article. RBI targets unfair method in digital lending with new norms. Now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, issues related to the Indian economy. Now guys, recently there were many of the cases that came from many of the states, particularly from the South India, that there are the digital platforms which are involving in the unfair lending business. They were providing the money to the people on to very high interest rates, and when the people were not able to pay them, they were sending their recovery agents. Actually, what has happened, the two things are working in conjunction. There are the sites where the people are betting on many such kind of a games. For example, the people are betting money on the poker, rummy, etc. And at the same time, when the people are not having the money, there are these digital lending websites, digital lending apps that are playing. They are providing the money to the people at very high interest rates, and many of the people have committed suicide into the past while they have borrowed the money and they were not able to pay back the money on the time because they were being harassed by the recovery agents. Now guys, the RBI had brought such kind of a recommendation. Now guys, meanwhile what happened, actually a working group on digital lending was constituted. This working group on digital lending was given a task that you need to suggest that how this particular thing can be curbed. So basically they come out with the guidelines, and on to basis of this particular guidelines, now the RBI had issued certain guidelines. So what RBI had provided? RBI, number one, has provided that all the loan disbursals, all as well as all the repayment of the loan needs to be carried through the bank accounts and the borrowers, and only the regulated entities such as the banks as well as the non-banking financial companies can provide the loan. So guys, regulated entities, what it means? Regulated entities means which are being controlled by the government, either under the Banking Regulation Act, under the RBI Act of 1934, or under any other act. So only if the company is, only if an entity is having a banking license and an NBFC license, they can only provide the loan. No other one can provide a loan. Then next, it has been provided that if a person is taking a loan, then a standardized key fact statement is to be shared with the person. It is to be told that what will be the interest rate that will be charged, what will be the penalties that will be charged, and all these kind of things. And a consent is to be given to this particular standardized key fact statement. Okay, and then the third thing that has been there is that basically there needs to be a cooling off period in which the borrowers can exit the loan by paying the principal and proportionate interest rates. Suppose Mr. A took a loan for 1 year on a particular interest rate. Now, if Mr. A wants to exit after 1 month or after 15 days, there needs to be a cooling period that, okay, within 1 month, within 15 days, within 7 days, you can exit. So such opportunity also needs to be provided to the people. So these three conditions are there. Now guys, a question comes which is beyond the scope of this particular article, but is important. Why the Reserve Bank of India is very much keen to come out with a guideline? Now guys, understand this particular thing, that with the coming digitization, with the coming internet of things, with the coming digital economy, basically the digital lending, digital borrowing, it is going to get increased. But if such kind of an activities will be there where predatory interest will be charged, the people's confidence towards the digital lending, digital borrowing, it will get impacted, and such confidence, if it will go down, it will not be good for the digital economic system. So therefore Reserve Bank of India wants to control, wants to regulate this entire industry. So therefore all these issues have come. So that is all guys about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Credibility of the UN sanctions regime at all-time low. So guys, basically what had happened now, the India's UN envoy, fine, Miss Ruchira Kamboj, UN envoy of India, fine, she has addressed in the United Nations and has provided that United Nations Security Council particularly, it has become ineffective. Fine, the sanctions regime of the United Nations, it is at all-time low. Their credibility had got impacted. According to the India's UN envoy, it has been addressed that actually the certain countries such as the China, they are going for the selected targeting. Into the past, India has sent a list of the terrorist organization. India has sent a list of the terrorist, fine, who needs to be banned. But guys, the China is blocking India's attempt. Why? Because China is a friend of Pakistan, and there is some interest of the Pakistan in protecting some of the people, some of the organizations, and because Pakistan wants to protect them, the China is helping them. So the United Nations Security Council, its sanctions, it has become ineffective. Its credibility has become ineffective. It is selectively targeting only those people, only those organizations which have some kind of a which can provide them some kind of a political benefit. They are not working for the welfare of the humanity. Now it has been said that it is the credibility of the United Nations sanction, it is all-time low. Fine, basically China, Pakistan and Afghanistan, they are sponsoring terrorists sometimes indirectly. It has been provided that guys, actually there are the many terrorist organizations whose name India has proposed, but they have not been banned. Basically it has been said that United Nations Security UNSC's recent report onto the terrorism has given a name of one particular terrorist organization, that is ISIL. Okay, ISILK. But guys, there are many other organizations also who are associated with it. Their name were provided by India, but they have not been banned. So a selective filtering of inputs is being carried. Okay, all the member countries' inputs are not being taken very seriously. India's inputs with respect to the terrorist organizations are not taking very seriously. Moreover guys, whenever New Delhi, the India, had provided some of the inputs, these inputs have been put on hold by the China. So guys, China, it is under the permanent 5 member of the UNSC. So India's recommendation on terrorist organizations are being put on hold. So this is something that is happening. Now guys, presently India is hosting a special meeting. India will host a special meeting on the United Nations Security Council's counter-terrorism committee. This special committee will be hosted by India. Now guys, in this particular committee, India will discuss the cyber crime, new challenges of terrorism, financial, basically terror financing and all these kind of things. Now this particular meeting will be hosted on October 28 and October 29 next month. But before that, India had said that we need to take terrorism more seriously. We need to capture the issues raised by the terrorism with more gravity, and we should not look for the political advantages here. So this is guys the entire issue that has come in this particular direction. So guys, with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. So this is guys the entire discussion with the background as well as the way forward into the articles. So guys, I hope that you've been able to understand all these issues, and you are able to now make more sense of the background as well as the way forwards. So that is all for today. Now we'll meet tomorrow. Till then guys, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.